I think it's pretty clear to everybody that you're very talented filmmakers and storytellers. Why use this talent that you have to tell a story about missionaries? You've done this twice now. What's the motivation? What's the inspiration?
The question was why are we using why are we making films about missionaries? And I think the response sometimes depends on the audience, but I don't know what they would say. I'm driven by this because, not necessarily because they're missionaries. I mean, I certainly relate to their missionaries, but I see this as a universal story of faith. And I think through this process, through making this film and other films, an overall theme that I feel is important to tell is that it's hard, that faith is hard. And if we just bear down and keep moving forward, we will get through it. We'll recognize the hand of God in our lives. And I think that's a worthy effort, whether it's about missionaries or anybody going through any sort of struggle. That's a universal theme.
Let me just address something real quick. All of us there at one point or another said we were here for a higher purpose. While we were there, these actors were learning about the gospel. They were handing out flyers that people wanted to keep. We were asked, and we handed out several Book of Mormons. We had several crew members who were going to church with us because they wanted to. The last couple days we had the smiling lady in the Trotro, Mary, who came and hung out with us for a couple days when we asked her if she wanted anything, and she said, "I like the way I feel when I'm around you." The thing I learned is that these are beautiful people and that they're God's children. And it's great people like Brother Mende who are so humble and so close to the Lord that we need to look at as the example. And that's some of the things that I brought back from making a little movie in Africa.
All right, here in the hat.
Yeah, can you speak a little bit to your schedule and some of the other major challenges of communication and transportation that you face while you're over there?
Yes. What time is it? We'll make it short. We landed in Accra.
What's the question?
Oh, sorry, the question. Speak to the schedule and
your
challenges.
Number of production days.
Number of production days. Got it. Oh, that's Blair. Hey, good question. So we landed in Accra with knowing we needed to go home in 6 weeks with a finished movie. The schedule was 20 total shooting days of principal photography and a couple second unit. I think in terms of challenges, there was a challenge every day, and it became evident that every day with that challenge that there was some miraculous way that we were able to overcome it, and part of that is kind of that fine-tuning of understanding what movie we were making and for what purpose it was. Certainly the people that we were interacting with were the cast and crew. While maybe not the most experienced, certainly had a heart and passion for what it was we were doing, and their faith pulled us through, and it was a cherished and memorable experience for sure. There's a hand here in the shadows. There you go.
What happened to the rebel who was a Latter-day Saint?
Melissa, you're a screenwriter. You want to comment on that?
It'll be in the sequel. There are a couple of characters, and I'm sure that Brother Menti can testify to this. There are a couple of characters, Momolu, the rebel, that are combinations of people that the missionaries knew and interacted with. There was indeed a member of the branch who was a rebel and stepped in that day and kept Elder Gay from getting shot. That's a true story, and that's just, we took a lot of these little moments that were true and kind of cobbled them into a character that we could relate to. He's a fiction, but he's inspired by several real people.
Menti, do you want to comment on that? On how I had that question? How can a Latter-day Saint be a rebel?
not the question you wanted?
This is the calm man who shouldn't ask that.
It's a tough question. You know, when I remember that, I just remember Nephi and his brothers, and all of the stratagems we hear and learn about in the Book of Mormon, and how certain things were done eventually for the good, the greater good, and for survival, for even the decision we eventually made to leave Liberia, Monrovia. We couldn't have, in my mind, even to this day, I don't think we would have survived as a team, a bunch of missionaries of 9. I don't think we would have. Some of us would have survived hadn't us taken the action we did take. And some members from time to time who went to church, who were in the congregation, did not tell us that they were affiliated with certain factions and so. But some of them were. And as we went, as events unfolded, we eventually knew that there was some purposes for that as everything unfolded. Sometimes those checkpoints were, they were like 30, some more pretty close to like 50 checkpoints. And for each checkpoint we were at, it was something that up to now I couldn't accept going back and say that my father was actually involved in this. But we either saw a member or a friend of a friend who is a rebel who knew us, and so it was complicated as now as we look at the whole plan of salvation and see from the beginning it's complicated to so many people, but for us as we come to understand the truth and everything about it, then we are like, oh, this is it. So it was complicated, but within the midst of that complexity, I think Heavenly Father's hand was in all of that. So it was and many of those guys we came across that were church members / rebels or affiliated with rebels, every one of us, we had very good things, complimentary things to say about that.